I see the Albanese government is such chaos now. It's like the dying Whitlam government. And speaking of, I just can't figure out where the Prime Minister's going with the two other things in the Uluru Statement that he solemnly promised to deliver. Now, there was the voice, that was lost in the referendum last year. But what about the Truth and Treaty on his T-shirt, which is short for the Makarrata Commission that was meant to deliver them both, that Albanese even funded to get off the ground? Now he refuses to give a straight answer. Is this Makarrata Commission now dead? Or is it still his dream? Who knows? Joining me is the Opposition's Indigenous Australian spokesman, Senator Jacinta Nampijinpa Price. Look, Jacinta, thank you so much for your time. Before I get on to that, I've got to ask you about the news of the day, the big news. The government not banning Palestinian refugees from Gaza who say they like Hamas, the terrorist group, or even checking them properly. Now, your leader, Peter Dutton, said today, well, we can't check refugees from Gaza properly. Let's take none at all. But Labor MP Josh Burns said, oh, that's racist. He said, Australia doesn't have a race-based immigration policy. It's been a long time since we had one. We should never go back. But is it really racist to say that Palestinians from terrorist-controlled Gaza can't come unless we can do proper security checks?
Look, what's evident is that this government, when they know they're doing the wrong thing, they pull out the race card or some kind of card along those terms. It's not good enough to do so when we're talking about the security of our country and the safety of our citizens. I stand right beside our leader, Peter Dutton, in suggesting that we don't accept anybody coming from what we know is an active war zone which is governed by a listed terror organisation. That's what it's all about. It's about ensuring that the Australian citizens are protected and that the right checks and balances are put in place before we allow anybody into our country. And particularly right now, the security situation needs to stabilise before we even consider it.
Well, Josh Burns should bone up on what he means by racism. What race is he talking about? We're not banning Palestinians from Syria. We're not banning Palestinians from Jordan. We're not banning Palestinians from Lebanon or America or wherever, just Gaza. Get that in your head. But talking about race matters, the Albanese government not saying whether it will go ahead with the Makarrata Commission, which is meant to negotiate a treaty. The ABC sure isn't happy, Jacinta, and today ran more propaganda on its AM program that we needed to trawl even deeper about our past sins, real or exaggerated, so that Aboriginal Australians could finally get on with their lives. Is a taste of it.
Wiradjuri man Dinawang Jerabang, also known as Uncle Bill Allen, says the violent massacres, rapes and murders were wiped from the history books and the experiences of his ancestors were ignored.
They keep telling us there's never been a war fought on this land. Well, it has.
Auntie Leanna Carr says Wiradjuri people today are still feeling the impacts of the violence.
We inherited transgenerational trauma from colonisation.
Your response to that, Jacinta?
Look, there is certainly crises occurring all over the country, but particularly in our most regional and remote parts of the country, where there are Indigenous children who are suffering, who aren't getting the same sorts of opportunities as certainly many in other parts of the country. And that is where our focus should be in the present and looking toward the future. Absolutely, I've always been one to accept history and its nuances, but that's what we need to do. I think, we can take an educational approach in understanding our history in its entirety to create understanding, but not for the purpose of what the left is trying to do, trying to weaponise it against other Australians, because guilt politics has been stifling, continues to be stifling, and doesn't help anybody to progress forward, which is what I believe the Makarrata Commission is actually designed to do.
Well, also this idea of intergenerational trauma, we can't get over it unless we keep harping about the past. It's trapping people, it's preaching helplessness. I mean, Jews have been having to get over, so to speak, the Holocaust. I mean, it's in their memory, they remember it, it's, generates a lot of, awareness, yet it hasn't crippled them economically, financially, getting ahead in the world. You can't keep using things like this to stop you looking to the future. Now, speaking of this preaching of helplessness, to Education Minister Jason Clare, mentioned early in the show, his response to the NAPLAN tests, showing Aboriginal school children struggling more than most at reading and writing on average, saying, oh, skin colour was the issue here. Your chances in life shouldn't depend on your parents' pay packet or the colour of your skin. But I look at you, Jacinta. Have you felt that your success at school depended on the colour of your skin?
Look, to the very contrary. Both my parents were teachers. My mother is still working in the education space and taught me that education is very important, but it belongs to all of us, no matter what our heritage is. I mean, I heard Jason Clare speak at an AIF Foundation graduation one year, and those students, their motto for themselves, and I've heard them say it, is to maintain a high standard for themselves, high expectations. What he did when he gave his speech is he basically told them all that they were all victims because of the colour of their skin, which I thought was utterly atrocious. And that's part of the reason why, we're not actually recognising what it is that is keeping some of our most marginalised kids behind the eight ball. I mean, let's face it, Australian kids in general are falling behind in education, and it's the education minister's job to actually do something practical about this. So look seriously and look at what the real causes are instead of just painting it about making it a race issue. It just demonstrates he's completely out of touch.
Offer inspiration, not excuses, I think, really. Senator Jacinta Nampijinpa Price, always informative and great to talk to you. Thank you for your time.